Guess who's back? Back again. Hogg is back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? 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 That's right, I'm back. So, let's talk about something, man. Let's talk about how you haven't heard from me in a little while. And addressing the elephant in the room, not the Republican, the elephant in the room. Hogg, where have you been? Hogg's been on sabbatical. Yeah, let me take a little sip of my Peroni and we will get into this. By the way, Peroni very quickly becoming one of my favorite beers in the world. Anyway. So yeah, I've been gone for a little bit, man. What many of you don't know is after my, I can't remember which one it is. I actually don't have the screen up in front of me. I'm going real informal today. There's going to be no readings, no nothing, man. We're just going to talk shop. And then with the last little bit of time, I guess I'll weigh in on what's going on with the, obviously with SCOTUS shooting down the Trump lawsuit or the Texas lawsuit, the Texas-sized lawsuit. Anyhow, first, yeah, I've been gone for a little bit. And as many of you are unaware and are about to be made aware, I did a video. It was the video on the cut, where they had all of those, where they staged all of those black people and otherwise, there were some, I believe they're referred to as persons of color. They had those people there. And, just basically being charged up to say a bunch of racist and ignorant shit about white people. Okay. So I did a play-by-play on that video. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube flagged that video. I was issued a strike for that. A strike for that. Yes, I was issued a strike for violating their community standards for criticizing a video that was very obviously a racist video. At the very least, stereotypical, prejudicial. I don't know if it went as far as to be literally racist, but who knows? Definitions change every day, so we have no way of knowing anymore. But anyway, yes, indeed. I was issued a strike for that. And for that, I would like to say to YouTube, hold on, another sip. I would like to recite for them the title of one of my favorite Kid Rock songs from back in the day, Fuck Off. So what I have done, and as I continue to move forward, what I will be doing, because I had to think about this for a while. I'm like, all right, well, and then I appealed, and I never really got any kind of answer. Because for those of you who know me, know that I'm not really a guy to lay down. However, the irony of that statement, later to be revealed, so never really got much of a reply, never much in the way of an understanding as to what the actual violation was. They just kind of hid behind the language and framing of their rules. So for that, I was just like, okay, well, do I really feel like dealing with this? I mean, as we watch this country continue to devolve into warring factions, is my time better spent etching names on bullets? Or do I really want to come back and give this thing, fight against the current? So for a while, I just kind of said, yeah, meh. But I'm not going to lie to you, I started to hate myself more and more every day that I did not post a video, that I did not at least address this situation, that I did not, and for all intents and purposes, and lack of a better word, and being completely honest with you, that I did not retaliate. So, as the hatred began to grow, and I'm watching what's going on right now with the whole Trump thing, with these lawsuits, and you had, well, at that time, you had what was going on with Georgia, where Kemp was kind of hiding and not trying to get involved, and this, and that. And I mean, obviously, that was disgusting and, just cowardly. But in that moment, I kind of had a revelation, epiphany, if you will. Epiphany. I want people to understand that there's an M in that word, not an N. So, anyway, I said, how much better am I than he? Because I was faced with a similar situation, something that was disaccording. Now, granted, I may not be corrupt as, he may be a corrupt politician for all we know. So there may be some variances there, but I'm just talking strictly about being confronted with a problem that was disconcerting and choosing not to face it, choosing the easy road of just accepting it. And man, I really, 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 that's when the resentment came. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, long story short, I have decided to tell YouTube to fuck off. I'm back for as long as I can be back, I'm sure. I mean, hey, maybe I get another strike today by telling them to fuck off yet again. That's 3. So what I've decided to do is continue to make videos. Obviously, I'm going to make another podcast. But also, announcement. I'm actually going to move my channel to Rumble as well. So now, if I get kicked off of here, okay, you win that little battle. But understand that Planet Hogg will go on strong. And so, yeah, I will be heading over to Rumble and backing up all my files there. I mean, luckily, understanding how YouTube works and the way the culture works now, I've saved copies of every episode so I can put them up on Rumble. And who knows, maybe I get, 30 views. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is what's going on with that. And I would just like to thank YouTube for that because, I was ready to just let it go. And then it's just a thought of some pimple-faced, purple-haired, non-binary, queer, some loser. Some nerd, someone who should have gotten beaten up a long time ago and probably did, and that's why they're so resentful. Someone like that dictating to me what I can and can't do. That will never happen as long as I draw breath. I promise you that. You people will never dictate to me what to do. The worst you can do is kick me off your channel, but I'm going to go somewhere else. So the voice, you will not silence the voice. Anyway, that's that. Some news for you in my return episode to the planet. And that's not to say I won't make videos here. I'll just keep making them. And at the point where they decide they've had enough and they decide to fully flag me, well, then I will go on elsewhere. And when you see my channel disappear, that's probably a good chance that I'm not there. And in the meantime, in between time, how about you just go over there to Rumble and check me out. There's a lot of there's a lot of people over there. So, and we'll just have to do to YouTube what Parler's doing to Twitter. And that's fine. However, I think that is a short-sighted fight because one of the problems that Republicans have made over the years, one of the myriad of problems, I really, as much as I hate Democrats, I have a special hatred for Republicans. And when I say Republicans, I mean pretty much everybody except Ted Cruz, right? Because every time I turn on the goddamn news, Ted Cruz is the only person doing something. Anytime there's a special committee, Ted Cruz is heading it up. Anytime there's a hearing, Ted Cruz is asking the questions. Anytime there's a case to be disputed, Ted Cruz is arguing it. That is the hardest working Republican, if not politician, quite possibly in the history of this country. And my hat's off to Ted Cruz and the great state of Texas. Now, the Republic of Texas, excuse me. Now, And I'm sure there's others. Look, I didn't know a whole lot about DeSantis. He's kind of been quiet throughout all this, so I don't know where he stands. But as far as keeping Florida open and not turning us into New York City, hey, he has my approval and respect for that. And there's a couple of others, but most of the Republicans are absolutely worthless, scum. They're spineless. They're cowardly, and to be honest, they're to blame for why the Democrats are the way they are right now. I mean, do you expect laissez-faire, weak, I want to be my kid's friend type parents to raise responsible children? No, you don't. Right? When that balance is offset, where there is no yin to offset the yan becomes stronger than the yin. So I don't necessarily blame Democrats for the way they are right now. They are who they are. Fucking crazy people who, for the most part, don't give a shit about anything. Fine. I blame the people who are supposed to be countering that. I blame the people who are supposed to stand up to that, who are supposed to quash that, who are supposed to make sure the other voice is heard. So anyway, getting back to my main point and why I think it's ultimately short-sighted, the digital warfare battle. I mean, I guess it must be fought, but here's the thing. Eventually, and you've already seen this done with Parler, eventually all they'll do is use their little buzzwords to get everybody fired up. Oh my God, it's a Nazi platform. Oh my God, it's hate speech. And eventually the government will try to crack it down. So I really just see it as buying time and maybe buying a few allies, opening a few ears, maybe enlightening a few people. You'll have to forgive me. I'm a little jaded. And at this point, my faith in the American people is approaching an all-time low. It is approaching an all-time low. Not just for the people who, obviously, we have dissenting political opinions and who remain largely uninformed. One of the things Tim Pool said that he didn't take back or retract in like 2 seconds afterwards that I actually agree with is that the left, typically, their voters are uninformed and they cater to uninformed people. Yes, I agree 100%. I cannot tell you the number of times I've had, I would like to say stimulating, but not really, political conversation and discourse with friends and or family to where they were not fully educated on the actual facts of the issue. So I had to simultaneously educate them while debating them. It's kind of hard to do that. So, yes, agree 100%, largely uninformed people on the left. So I'm not really talking about them so much. Eventually, hopefully, maybe, someday, somehow, some way, they say, you know what? These people are lying to me a lot. Maybe I should just open my ears to the other side because they actually seem to have more pieces of the puzzle. So even if I don't necessarily agree with them, I can at least get those pieces of the puzzle and then try to figure the picture out myself. It's crazy thought. It's complex thought. It's not really. But today, So I'm not so much mad at them. They are who they are. They do what they do. I'm more upset with Republicans because for the longest time, these are just do-nothing people. These are just people who, they say all the right things, right? And they understand that they have the monopoly on the non-liberal vote and the non-liberal media seeker and the non-liberal, let's say, well, I did say media seeker, so let's not be redundant because I do want to take an angled shot at Fox News. There it is. Ouchies. And understanding that they have this monopoly, well, what happens in economics when there's a monopoly? Are they bound to the will of their people? Are they obligated to maintain a modicum of honesty, of integrity in terms of the execution of their function? No, they're not. Because I know I got you. If you live in a town and I'm the only person that sells food in that town, and the next town it's just not feasible for you to get there, well, what's to stop me? In theory, in the theory of this very vanilla analogy, what's to stop me? Nothing. from driving up a couple prices. Now, you could argue, oh, there's legal safeguards, this, and that. I understand that for the vanilla purpose of illustrating this one point that without any kind of accountability, guess what? There is no accountability. So, a lot of these companies have enjoyed a monopoly. A lot of these, I'm talking about media company, Fox. The written word, there's a little bit more. But in terms of digital media, now, obviously that's being challenged now with Newsmax, and good congratulations for them. Their viewership is going up while Fox's continues to wane. Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I'm not saying completely jettison Fox News, although some people are, and they're well within their rights to do it, and I understand that sentiment for sure. But I feel the same way about the Republican Party. Actually, I feel the way about the Republican Party first and foremost. If you are even mildly conservative, hell, you don't have to be conservative at all. If you're a moderate, if you're not a left-wing nut job liberal, they're the only show in town, and they know it. So they've been able to just come out and say the things that we want to hear. And again, there's a reason why I have never, ever been a supporter of this party. There's a reason why I'm not registered as a Republican. Because I can't fucking stand them. Because they're weak. Because they're fake. Because you have a constituency that is made up of people who are playing the game with the Democrats. Oh, it's really just us politicians against those stupid people. I'll say what I need to say, you say what you need to say, and we'll make money and not really change anything for them. You have those people, but then you also have the ones who are so stuck on, and I'm going to quote Dinesh D'Souza on this. I actually watched a video of his where he said this, and he hit the nail right on the head, where they are so stuck on the process that they really give two shits about the end result. Or they sacrifice the end result in maintaining their emphasis on the process. In other words, the ends do not justify the means. And to me, the best parallel that immediately comes to mind about how the Republicans are and how the Democrats are is actually a story near and dear to the heart of America, or at least for now. The American Revolution. The American Revolution. Because to me, the Republicans and the way they do things and the way they go about things, they are the British. And remember, the British had superior numbers, which I think our election showed that. YouTube won't like me saying that because Joe Biden won by more president in American history. Bullshit. I'll say it. Bull fucking shit. He didn't. He did not. He did not. He did not. He didn't. No. It is a lie. Take this video down. Give me another strike. I don't give a fuck. Here it is. So, obviously, Donald Trump won by a very large margin. Don't care what you say. You can't convince me otherwise. Why? Because we found cheating, and now it's like, okay, well, first, it's so funny to watch how this narrative has shifted, right? Because that's the game they play. I've said this in earlier podcasts that'll probably be taken down after this. It's one of the areas where they wage their war is in words. And not only the definitions, but the applications and the uses. So first, it was there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Oh, I'm sorry, there's no evidence of voter fraud. And then we find some things. Oh, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Then we find some things. Then there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud that could shift the election. So it's always this game of, it's almost like skeet shooting. You know, they just keep throwing these clay pigeons up, and the Republicans shoot at them. But the larger issue here is that nothing ever gets done with these people. Save Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is not a Republican for the sake of what I'm talking about now. He is excluded from all of this because, like I said, that is the hardest working politician I've ever seen. So aside from Donald Trump, because, another peace deal probably won't get a Nobel Peace Prize. You can't expect that. It's not like it's a peace prize rewarding peaceful people or people suing for peace. So it is what it is. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you have these people who go there, they work, they accomplish zero, diddly squat. And these people are, in effect, the redcoats. They are the redcoats because, again, when we look at the British, for those of us who know history and understand the American Revolution, the British had a superior armed force than the colonists, right? The British were, at that point in time, I do believe they were the number one army in the world. They had the strongest army in the world. It was either them or France. So they're either one or two, going against a bunch of people who immigrated there. Why did they lose? Because one of the reasons why they lost, taking the French out of it, because the American colonists, I'll call them the Americans just because I don't feel like calling them the colonists, the Americans had to survive until the French reinforcements arrived. Number one, until they could convince them to get involved, and number two, until they could arrive, because there were no C-130s dropping off people. So they had to get in their big wooden goofy boats and float across the ocean. Hope we're going the right way. So they had to survive until their reinforcements arrived. Yes. And they were able to do that. They were able to win against a superior force. Why? Because one of the Achilles heels of the British was the way they fought. They were stuck in this archaic, romanticized view of fighting, to where there are rules to this. And we always have to stick to these rules, win or lose, because there's honor in defeat as long as we play by the rules. And that are the fucking Republicans right there. That is them in a nutshell. They are willing to lose as long as we play by the rules. And I'm sorry, for some of you, maybe that's acceptable. For me, that is not acceptable. I play to win. And that's not necessarily saying cheat. That is not necessarily saying cheat. See, that's the thing. You can play an aggressive game and not cheat. You can find ways to streamline or shortcut without necessarily cheating. Now, all of that, we can have this discussion, all of that goes out the window when you play against someone who is blatantly cheating. Yeah, I would say at that point, it is a good time to jettison your firing lines when you're going against people who are popping in from the wilderness or, sneaking into your camps at night, lopping off a few heads, right? Or who are ambushing you using ambush tactics that you're previously unfamiliar with. I'd say that's a good time to abandon making your lines. You have to adapt is the point. And Republicans, for whatever reason, have shown the inability to adapt. Or, if you will, the proclivity to refuse to adapt. So, in either case, they have proven themselves both obsolete and ineffectual. Now, I'm not necessarily one that believes in creating another party, because all you're going to do is have those same people slip into that party and just say, oh, well, I didn't do this. It was this guy. They'll throw each other under the bus to get some kind of political cover, to slip back in and eventually do the same thing over and over again. Maybe it's a little jaded, I admit, but that's how I feel, in the words of Jeezy. So, I don't really know what the answer is, ladies and gentlemen. I don't like to present problems without knowing it, but I know right now another party is a good idea. For now, I think that's a good idea. If for nothing else but to send the message that the way you are doing business now is no good. And that brings me to the Supreme Court. Now, look, I know a lot of people had their hopes in the Supreme Court. And I'm not going to lie to you, they, as jaded as I am against the courts, and I know I've said this at some point in some other video, I don't believe in the courts. I don't. I'm sorry, I just don't. When you had those two guys that Trump put in, Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. Well, Gorsuch hasn't sided with the Republicans since he's been put in, right? And again, it's like, well, they're supposed to be neutral. They're not supposed to. Okay, those are the old rules. We're done with the firing lines. It is what it is. Do you think that the liberal justices care what the issue is, or do they care where their party's interests are? Just throwing that one out there. Especially, not to mention, Supreme Court justices, you may want to get involved in this because if Joe Biden wins, they've talked about maybe, kind of, possibly entertaining the thought, but definitely packing the courts, which will water down all of your say-so moving forward. So what are you actually preserving? What are you actually preserving if you lose this, ultimately? You are preserving nothing. So I've been out on the courts for a long time because they are too, they are, okay, I'm going to take a deep dive here into a very geeky world. For all the people out there who played Skyrim, one of my favorite games of all time. And for those of you who don't know, you're just not going to know until you play Skyrim. And I'm not going to explain it because it is just way too deep. But anyway, one of the principal storylines of that game was you had these dragons coming back to life, and this dude had to kill them. Your character has to go kill them all, right? And you have two sides of this faction. Actually, I'll put that aside. Let's talk about the Civil War. There was literally a Civil War. It was another, they were like A and B of the plot lines. They're equally important. They're both the main story of the game. So you had a civil war between two factions. One of them that was part of, the Empire's attachment that said, no, this Skyrim was essentially trying to secede from the Union. And you had this group called Stormcloaks, who were basically the people of Skyrim that wanted them to secede. And then you had the Imperial Army, which was part of the group of nations that wanted to quash the rebellion and bring them back in. Well, aloof of all of this, you have this group called the Greybeards, who know all of this shit. They have all this ability, but they never get involved because they're stuck in their ways. It's all about preserving, in the game, it's called the Way of the Voice. And that's their entire fixation. In fact, that is their sole focus and purpose, to the point where they are completely aloof and blinded to the goings-on of everyone else in the world. Apropos, they live on the highest mountain in the nation. Quite symbolic, in fact. That, to me, is where the Supreme Court is right now. At least these justices that just got put in, the ones that Trump put in. And again, I understand that they know more about their job than I do, and I am not pretending to know more about their job than I do. I am just saying that I can see the reality of the situation we're in. And when you decide to punt because you don't want to deal with the situation, well, number one, I think that was a tremendously short-sighted decision made by people who are supposed to be the wisest amongst us, at least in matters of foreseeing the law and precedent and all that good stuff. And number two, I think that's ultimately a decision that they are going to come to regret. Because the course that we are on right now, and the person who is knocking at the door of the White House has already paid lip service, a little bit of a hiccup there, paid lip service to the notion of packing the Supreme Court, ultimately watering down their opinion and ultimately destroying the institution that they are working so hard to save. Again, going back to the Skyrim analogy, talking about the dragons coming back to life storyline. Well, there's one dragon who's supposed to come back and basically destroy the entire world. But you have these people, the Greybeards, that know all this shit. They know that that's what the person's mission is, but they don't get involved. Save from saying, oh yeah, he's going to do this. But we need to stick to this code. We can't get involved. So, playing that all the way out, using that storyline. So if the dragon actually destroys the world, what did you actually save? And if Joe Biden wins and packs the courts, SCOTUS, what did you actually save? Food for thought. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hop on out of here. We'll see if this is up in a few hours. Most likely, it will be on Rumble, because that's where I'm going to go now. and add it up there. And yes, please look me up on Rumble if you are on it, because we just can't trust YouTube anymore. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later on. So until then, peace.